Hi everybody. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about footwear for extreme cold. Something I know a little bit about. I've been in some pretty darn cold places in this country. Um, and you know, the feet, if your feet are warm, you can deal with a lot of things. If your feet are cold, man, I'll tell you, and there's specific ways to keep your feet warm. Um, the way to start is with the proper equipment. Now, there's a lot of stuff on the market today that just doesn't measure up. It's being promoted, and I'm going to explain why it doesn't measure up, but we'll take a look here. Now, I usually start with a wool sock, right? This is a 50-50 wool nylon blend sock. They're made by Stanfield's here in Nova Scotia, actually. It's one of the few things that are made here anymore. They make a really great sock. Anybody in the know here uses a Stanfield sock. It's a wool. The wool wicks the moisture off your feet, and they're good and thick, and you can wear a couple of pair depending on how cold it is, and it also depends on what you're doing. But always start with a good wool sock. It doesn't have to be Stanfield's. Give me anybody. Now, the next thing is boots. Right? Now I have two examples of boots here. This here is your basic, what I call a pack boot. This boot here is has a felt liner, a wool felt liner, leather upper, rubber down below. These are great for anything from just above 0 to minus 10. Right? I mean, these are fantastic. You can, with an extra pair of socks, you can even go lower. I use these quite a bit around here because a lot of our temperatures range in from just above freezing to, maybe 5-10 below freezing Celsius, right? It'd be like 20 degrees Fahrenheit, I guess. And the thing is that when the temperatures are mild and the snow is melting, your feet don't get wet because you have this rubber lower, right? Almost like a duck boot. When it gets really cold, then I go to the mukluk, right? Now these are what the Canadian military uses. Since I left the military, I've worn out one pair, and I'm on my second pair now. I buy them Army surplus. You get them for about $20-$30 a pair, and they come with liners, and you can go online to any Army surplus place in Canada that does mail order Army surplus. Sometimes you can find them on eBay. Now, what we're going to do is I want to talk about the boots themselves and what's important when you're going to buy a boot. A lot of the stuff that's being promoted today is totally unacceptable because, for one reason, you cannot take the liners out. In order to maintain and have dry feet, you have to have the ability to take the liners out and dry them at night, right? Because here's what happens. The sock will wick the moisture off your feet, and the moisture will travel into here and be wicked off, and it will stop at the rubber. Okay? And once it stops at the rubber, it just pools in here. Now, if you're only going to be out for a night, not a big deal. But if you're going to be out for multiple nights,
or if they're your everyday walking around boot,
your everyday boot, every night you got to take these liners out, and you've got to let them dry out, and you've got to let the moisture evaporate out of your boots. Because if you don't, these are going to get wet and it's clammy. And I know right now you're going, yeah, geez, my boots are really good when I first got them, and now they don't keep my feet warm at all. And it's because you haven't been able to get the liners out, right? Now, these are great for this, right? They're a great boot for this. You can take the liners out, put them back in. Normally I put it on my foot and then put it in, and it makes it easier for me. And but you get the, you know, you definitely have got to dry these off. Now, like I said, these are for cold conditions, but not severe cold. When you get into severe cold, once you get down below minus 20, minus 15, minus 20, then you got to bring out the big guns. Now, these are a fantastic boot. They have a felt liner, and it's a double liner, right? So to dry them, you can haul them out like this, and they'll dry out a lot quicker, right? I can remember being in an Arctic warfare tent, right? We had strings up, we had the Coleman stove going, and you know, we had our mukluks stripped out like this and all hanging up in the tent. And I'm telling you, after a few days, you know, you're in a section tent with 8 other guys or 7 other guys, and the smell was incredible, especially when it started to warm up. Now, these here also have an added feature. Get your feet off the ground. They also have an insole, and this is a mesh insole designed for the moisture to go through in the pool at the bottom here, right? These also have to be dried as well, right? And you know, and then you dry out your mukluk, because like basically that's just a thin nylon, right? And they dry out really well, and then you just put them back together once they're dry, right? But you definitely have got to dry these things off. And a big no-no is to just wear them around. And if you get these wet, your feet are going to be wet, or your feet are going to be cold. And I'm going to tell you, there is absolutely nothing worse than cold feet when you're trying to fight off all the other cold that's there. But as you see, they go back together relatively simply. And the secret to a good pair of boots is not the price, it's not the marketing, it's the ability to take the liners out and dry them at night, right? There's a whole raft of boots out there that I'm telling you, they look fantastic. I mean, you go there, you go into these stores, and they're flogging these things, but you cannot take out the liners. And they're charging you $100, $150, $200 for these things.
Well, my hiking boots and my ski boots, I can't wear them because they're so cold.
They're so cold, yeah. But they're not cold when you first wear them.
No.
It's like within a couple of days.
And trying to dry them out is horrible. You can't dry them out completely.
Well, this is it, right?
Maybe if you stuck a hairdryer in them, but if you're out in the woods, you ain't got a hairdryer.
And if you can find a plug out there somewhere,
in the tree,
right? Then that's a fantastic thing. But you know, when you're looking for boots, forget about price. These things, I picked these up. I think they were $14, right? Now that was a while ago, but
and you can always get these cheap at thrift stores because they're so outdated looking. Nobody wants them.
Well, this is it, right? They are, and but you can get it. Like I've seen Walmart, they have a pack boot, right? That they sell with liners, and you can also get the hunter's boots. You know, the big green boots.
Yep.
With removable liners. They're excellent as well. A lot of guys down here use these, right? And what's great about them is they have a removable liner and they're waterproof. And especially like when, you know, like in January, February when it's really cold, these work great because there's not going to be any wet snow. But once you get into March, or if you're in early December, when you have snow, like last month, we had snow, and then it thawed, and it was wet and gooey, and you got to have that protection of the rubber, right? But if you're going into an extreme cold area, then I recommend a boot similar to this. And what I like about these boots, they're really good. They've got this as you can see here, these are really good on ice. They grip really well. There's a lot of things to grip, and they work really good with the snowshoes. Right? These work okay with the snowshoes too. Right? But so anyway, just in summing up, you need a boot in which you can take out your liner. Now the thickness of the liner will determine, like, you can get liners that are double that thickness, right? This here is about 3/8 of an inch, right? But you can get half-inch thickness. Now the German boots that the Germans used in World War II, the ones like from 1943 on, I've seen them, and they're using a half-inch thick felt pack. And there was even accounts where the Russians were taking them off the dead Germans because they were better than the Russian boots, because they had a rubber and leather, or they had I think it was a leather or a rubber bottom to them, and the Russian boots were just a felt pack. Now, in extreme cold, like in Russia, they just issued the boots. They were just a great big thick piece of felt, and because the weather was so cold there, and the snow was dry, like, I mean, it just wasn't melting. But anyway, when you're thinking boots, right, and also too, if you're on the move, you're going to sweat more, so you can go to just one pair of socks. If you're going to be standing around, right? I mean, we used to do a 2-hour sentry. I've been on sentry at -35, -40, right? And you're just standing there, and I'll tell you, your brain just goes numb, right? But if your feet are warm, right, you can deal with everything else. And so, just consider, when you're buying boots, it's not the price, it's the ability to be able to dry those liners out at night. Anyway, I hope this was a help. Until the next time.